Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night for all participants. We have more than 200 registered participants. We are sitting in our cave, the cave of misinformation today. We have this symposium now for the International Society of Atopic Dermatitis since the last 3 years. We started with canine versus human atopic dermatitis. Last year we were covering the One Health concept, how it applies to atopic dermatitis. And this year we have moved with a very motivated and young panel to the field of misinformation, which is something which is a very growing concern, which is something like millions of persons involved around the world. So I'm very thankful to all our panelists, and I'm going to co-chair this meeting with Professor Peter Schmidt-Grendelmeyer, who is online and who is going to say a few words.
It's my great pleasure to co-chair this session together with Professor Alain Taïeb. I must say, I was not aware how much misinformation is in the social media, so I digged a little bit and I'm really shocked. There's a group with 20,000 followers who say within 3 days you can cure AD if you do it properly. So I think there's a lot to dig in and to see, and I'm very excited to look at this session together with you. And I'm thankful for also all our young colleagues who are very much into social media and know to use it and also to influence it possibly. Thanks for joining. And it's my great pleasure to get with Alain Taïeb to go into that session.
Thank you, Peter. And Isa organized this meeting. It is because we want to do something, but we don't know how to make the next step. So we hope that some good ideas will get out of this meeting and allow us to make some actions, and we will plan to follow up at the Russia meeting next October in Melbourne. So it's my great pleasure now to introduce the first speaker. Cathal O'Connor is consultant dermatologist and pediatrician at University College Cork, Ireland. He is a pediatric dermatologist. He was trained at Great Ormond Street and the Crick Institute. So I'm very happy because Cathal was able to join us. He was one of the first to review the question of misinformation in atopic dermatitis and published a very interesting paper a few years ago. Thanks, Cathal, and please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Cathal O'Connor, and today we are scratching the surface of misinformation in atopic dermatitis, and I'm presenting on some research which we performed in Cork in this area. So the World Health Organization has described misinformation as the greatest threat to global health, and in 2016, post-truth was chosen as the Oxford Dictionary's word of the year. Misinformation is an infodemic, otherwise known as an overabundance of information and rapid spread of misleading or fabricated news. Atopic dermatitis is complex in terms of its etiology, involving skin barrier dysfunction, dysbiosis, and T helper 2 cell skewed immune pathways. Sophisticated immune or scientific concepts are at higher risk of formulation and dissemination of misinformation. One recent study showed that over 2/3 of YouTube videos related to atopic dermatitis were of poor or very poor scientific quality. In our research, we aim to identify the specific content of misinformation regarding AD online. A literature search was performed using search terms atopic dermatitis or atopic eczema or eczema, and misinformation or disinformation or conspiracy theories. This identified 133 abstracts which were reviewed for suitability, of which only one was considered appropriate for inclusion. Given the unvalidated nature of the content we sought to identify, a Google search was also performed using combinations of these search terms. The first 10 pages were reviewed for novel information. Thematic analysis of search results identified key areas of misinformation, including simple cures for eczema, diet, chemicals, dust, red skin syndrome, and alternative therapeutic regimens. The concept of simple cures for eczema was frequently mentioned, suggesting that eczema is caused by a minor issue and can be reversed by ingestion or avoidance of one particular agent. Various causes were suggested, including food, chemicals, dust, vaccinations, emollients, and topical steroids. A short timeline was also a feature of the recommended simple cures. Needless to say, the etiology of atopic dermatitis involves multiple factors, and avoidance of specific individual environmental factors is unlikely to be helpful. A frequent recommendation was the exclusion of multiple different foods to cure eczema, including dairy, eggs, nuts, fish, and gluten-containing foods. Vegan diets were reported to cure eczema in days. Fad diets were also recommended for leaky gut syndrome, based on a false hypothesis that normal foods can increase intestinal permeability and cause atopic dermatitis. As we know, in atopic dermatitis, disruption of the skin barrier increases the risk of food allergy due to cutaneous exposure to food proteins, leading to allergic sensitization. But food allergies do not directly cause eczema. In fact, inappropriate dietary restriction in eczema can paradoxically increase the risk of true food allergy. Several chemicals have been mistakenly cited as causes of atopic dermatitis. The formaldehyde conspiracy claims that formaldehyde in food and other products causes eczema. The detergent conspiracy suggests that the recent increase in eczema prevalence is secondary to more washing detergents. Dust has also been incorrectly implicated as a cause of eczema. Air purifiers have been touted, usually by companies selling these devices, to both prevent and cure eczema. While dust exposure in the context of those with dust mite allergy might exacerbate cutaneous as well as allergic airways disease, there's no evidence that dust causes eczema. Thankfully, atopic dermatitis has infrequently been attributed to 5G wireless technology, mostly by this now defunct pseudoscientific group in the US. Some websites claim that vaccines elicit immune responses or contain ingredients that provoke eczema in genetically susceptible individuals. One homeopathy company frequently shared disinformation about poisonous vaccines causing eczema. This takes advantage of the natural history of atopic dermatitis, as it frequently presents after 2 months of age when the standard vaccination schedule begins. The example of smallpox vaccination causing eczema vaccinatum has also been extrapolated to suggest that all vaccines cause eczema. Vaccine-related misinformation undermines the safety of vital public health measures, which is especially important in the post-COVID era. Several websites misleadingly claim that topical treatments cause atopic dermatitis. One website claims that emollients induce eczema and promises that spending 49 English pounds on their digital program will cure it. Another doctor whose regimen is frequently mentioned in our outpatient department recommends a combination of corticosteroid, emollient, and fusidic acid combined in one formulation. This approach may cause antimicrobial resistance and dilutes the effectiveness of topical steroids. Red skin syndrome, also referred to as topical steroid addiction or steroid withdrawal, is a controversial and popular topic on TikTok and tabloid newspapers. Proponents of this theory claim that the skin problems are caused by topical steroid addiction. There are now many online services, including teledermatology services, promising to cure it, with testimonials to support this mode of treatment. The National Eczema Society and the British Association of Dermatologists have released a joint paper to address these concerns. Natural remedies are also frequently recommended to treat atopic dermatitis, such as apple cider vinegar, calendula, and witch hazel, which are all unproven therapies. One 14-month-old child in Canada died of septic shock, exacerbated by nutritional deficiencies following prolonged nutritional restriction and use of natural therapies. Natural Chinese herbal ointments are frequently used by parents who have concerns about prolonged use of topical steroids. However, it is known that a significant proportion of these products contain super potent topical steroids, ironically placing children at increased risk of adverse effects. Here is a diagram showing some examples of the outcomes from our research, which can be found in our publication. And here are two of the publications which we have recently, specifically looking at online misinformation in atopic dermatitis and online misinformation related to topical steroids. I think it's important to highlight that there can be some backlash to those of us who are seeking to find answers to what's true and what's not. And we've had some publications published online in relation to our work in the area. So in discussion, atopic dermatitis is associated with a huge disruption to quality of life. Patients and families are desperate for any potentially beneficial treatment, and exposure to misinformation may reduce adherence to evidence-based strategies. Misinformation regarding eczema has serious consequences, and some of the endorsed treatments are potentially lethal. The use of the word cure, especially if benefit from the suggested intervention sounds implausible, should be a red flag that the information is incorrect. Information from companies selling products should also be viewed skeptically. Healthcare professionals can stop the spread of false information by refuting or rebutting misleading health information and by providing appropriate evidence to accompany their refutation. Robert Proctor, Professor of History of Science at Stanford University, has declared this era the golden age of ignorance. Dermatologists should be aware of misinformation related to eczema being circulated by charlatans and be prepared to combat incorrect information to optimize care. Thank you all very much for listening, and I look forward to our discussion.
Thank you very much, Katal. Now, gluten-free diet is very popular in many specialties of medicine. And of course, a lot of people are adhering to this principle, even without any evidence of celiac disease. Do you think that, based on your experience of social media and what is written in the field of atopic dermatitis, is this something important in the field of recommendation given in social media for atopic dermatitis?
Yes, I think it's a very good example. I think it's quite controversial, the concept of gluten intolerance. So gluten intolerance, there's no test for it. You have to simply eliminate it from your diet and see if your symptoms improve. And we know that a lot of patients have a lot of intervention bias. It's like a placebo effect, that they feel better when they perform an intervention that they think is helping them. So it definitely is a significant problem. We see it with cow's milk protein intolerance as well, which is described, that, parents withdraw cow's milk containing foods from the diet, and often they have treatment started at the same time, and the treatment has helped their skin, but they attribute the improvement to their food restriction.
Thank you. I think for discussing this issue with some colleagues, some feel that maybe some beneficial aspects of gluten-free diet would be that they return to the kitchen to cook, and they don't eat processed foods. And it could be one beneficial side effect overall in many diseases. So Peter is going to move on, but he wants to ask a question also.
Yeah, maybe one remark to the gluten-free diet. If you avoid gluten, you need something else that the bread sticks together. So you put in soy or lupine. And we have people who were not gluten intolerant, but they avoid the gluten, but they were soy allergic, and they make a severe allergic reaction. So this just to add on in that topic. That's a brief comment. And otherwise, I would move to the next speaker, if it's okay. This is Marin Calve from the Eczema Foundation, who has also a lot of experience with social media handling. And she worked also as a sales engineer in the field of cosmetics. I think also there's a lot of social media. And of course, she's also has a master's degree in engineering and biology, so she's also a real natural scientist. And we are very excited to hear what you, Marin, present you also from your website, from the foundation, and of course also its interaction with social media. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Peter. Hello, everyone, and thank you for inviting me. I am very, very pleased to be here today to talk about the experience of the Eczema Foundation with social media handling as part of this global initiative of the ISOC group on misinformation. So maybe to start, a few words about the Pierre Fabre Eczema Foundation. We are a corporate foundation dedicated to the fight against eczema since 2004. And our purpose is really to collaborate with healthcare professionals and support patients so they can join forces to help patients live better with eczema. Our main mission is helping and supporting patients, and it is made possible by our various digital tools, but also our continuous support to nearly 50 atopy schools around the world. As we're here today to mainly talk about social media, I will quickly go over this part, but I just wanted to tell you that beyond our social media presence, we also have other digital tools to help patients, such as our website, which is available in 6 languages, with more than 100 pages of content written or validated by healthcare professionals. We have also developed a mobile application, Eczema Care Plus, with the aim of supporting patients in their daily life. It allows them to assess and track the progress of their eczema, but also to benefit from advice and tools to better live with eczema. One of our main communication tools with our patients, which allows us to share information and create an engaged community, is really social media. Historically, we are present on Facebook with both a page and a Facebook group where patients can interact with each other. We also have French and English accounts on Instagram and TikTok. We have a YouTube account where we share different types of videos, both for patients and healthcare professionals. And finally, we have a LinkedIn account, which is mainly dedicated to our B2B communication. On these different social media platforms, we have created communities ranging from 1,000 to nearly 30,000 followers. And some of our videos reach up to 150,000 views on TikTok. If we mainly focus now on our B2C content strategy on social media where we are the most present, so Instagram and TikTok, we really try to adapt our content on this platform to our target audience, but also to the functioning of the algorithms to maximize our impact. On Instagram, we mainly have women aged between 25 and 44 years old, and we vary the types of content we post between photos, carousels, videos, but we also use the stories at least twice a week to try to really engage our community using polls or questions. It also allows us to involve our patients in the choice of topic that we're going to discuss. On TikTok, we have a better balance between men and women audience with generally younger subscribers. It is a platform that is only video-based, and it is a platform that evolves so rapidly. So we're working together with a specialized agency whose role is to really identify the current trends of the platform and then to help us adapt our content to the trends of the platform. So we vary the types of content between trendy and humorous videos, which are really highlighted by the algorithms and help engage the community, and some videos with more substance, with answer to patient questions or practical advice. As my presentation today is part of this global theme of misinformation, it seemed important to me to quickly remind what misinformation is and why it is taking such proportions today with social media. So misinformation can be considered as false or misleading information that can be spread intentionally or negligently. Here you have some example of what can be considered misinformation. It can be unfounded claims, conspiracy theories regarding vaccines or treatment, or even miracle cures. And some factors explain why today it is taking so much proportions with social media. It can be linked to the accessibility and speed of dissemination on such platforms, the lack of fact-checking compared to more traditional media, or even echo chambers, which means that people tend to follow and interact with people who share their opinions, which can reinforce erroneous beliefs. On the Eczema Foundation side, we are implementing some measures to try to fight against disinformation. And the first thing is really to ensure the quality of the content that we're posting on our social media. To this aim, we really rely, each post we publish is relying on the content of our website, which has been written or validated by healthcare professionals or on official recommendation. And the same goes for responding to comments. We have created with our partner dermatologists kind of templates for the most frequently asked questions, or we direct the patients to the article on our website. Another thing that I'm doing, and which is really important, is really reporting all undesirable comments or posts or accounts that I see and that share some false information. But as the scale of the problem is so big, it can be really time consuming, because if you look for false information circulating on social media, you will always end up finding some information. And finally, to end this presentation, I wanted to share with you an example of a controversy we had to face on our Instagram account in 2021. We had posted a video from our patient question series in which healthcare professionals and expert patients answer frequently asked questions by patients. And this video was on the theme, "Is cortisone dangerous?" We had 66 comments under this video, which is our most commented video to date on our Instagram account. And you can see here some examples of comments we received. Cortisone is dangerous. Cortisone cream should never be used for more than 3 weeks. Long-term cortisone is a poison. All these comments were mentioning or referred to the red skin syndrome or topical steroid withdrawal. How did we respond to this controversy? We first decided to write an information post together with a dermatologist to provide an overview of the knowledge on the subject. But again, we had more than 60 comments, many criticisms. So we decided to record 2 different videos with Dr. Jean-Marc Chavigny, who is a French dermatologist, to address all the questions that we had about the use of topical corticosteroids and red skin syndrome. These videos were better perceived by our followers, our community, but again, it was not really sufficient according to some comments. If I've decided to share this example with you today, is because the red skin syndrome is a very controversial topic on social media, and one of the main subjects that emerges when we talk about eczema and misinformation on social media. And also it was important because many comments we received on this subject were coming from accounts created specifically on the subject with sometimes thousands of followers, which really highlight that it's something we need, this phenomenon is something we need to take into account and seek for solutions. And that's why we're here today. And also this example perfectly linked with the presentation that are going to be made by Dr. Sade and Dr. Hartholm after. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will be really pleased to deep dive into the subject during the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marine. That was very interesting. I'm really impressed what you're all doing. May I ask, it looks as it's a full-time job, just to supervise and interfere, or can you briefly comment on that?
Yes, you're right, and that's why I mentioned it can be really time consuming. It's not the only thing I do at the Eczema Foundation because I'm managing all the digital part, but indeed managing communities on social media take a lot of time because you have to first find the subjects to discuss, then try to adapt it to the codes of the different social media. And then, of course, if you really want to create an engaged community, you have to interact with people, to answer to comments, and also on the part of reporting misinformation or false comments. As I mentioned, I try to do it as much as I can, but it's really time consuming because if you look for some false information circulating, you will always end up finding some things to do. So yes, it's a huge job, but really interesting one. And yes,
I think so.
also
Yeah.
to discuss with you to see how we can address this topic of misinformation together.
Yeah. I mean, we enter into the full discussion later on, but maybe another comment is, do you follow up? What is the impact of your interventions?
Yes, we really try to follow up and to have discussions and to see, for instance, the example I gave with red skin syndrome was a good example of understanding the comments and try to react according to those comments by first doing a post, and then it was not sufficient. So we try to do some videos, and each time we answer to comments and we try to, yes, to follow up with patients, even sometimes in private discussions when patients have some questions and we want to go deeper, not to leave our patients in nature.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I just will ask a simple question to Marine. I see on your slide, because myself, I do not practice this kind of social media. I'm not only a beginner of LinkedIn. Why is there such a sex difference between Instagram and TikTok?
Well, I don't really know, and I don't know if it's the case. It would be interesting to look at other accounts from other companies or associations. I don't know why there is such a difference. Historically, I think it was because on Instagram, it was relying on photos and things like this, like beautiful images. So it was more driving women. And as TikTok is really engaging the young generation, I think it has engaged both men and women, but I don't have the explanation, and I don't know if it's this is the case on our accounts, but I don't know if it's like a general
it's a general research question for people working on social media. Okay, thank you very much, Marine, for this presentation, and which shows that we have already in this group a practice of the heart of the subject.
Yes, we have now Professor Dana Sadeh from Lebanon, who will speak on TikTok, an example of a massive social media influence with a lot of impact on AD patients. Professor Sadeh works at the clinical dermatology at the Beirut Medical Center. She has practiced in Lebanon. She has a strong interest also in topical steroid withdrawal. And when she came across TikTok, a TikTok video of a patient suffering from the condition, she decided to delve deeper into the subject and exploring her research and publication. Investigating topical steroid withdrawal videos on TikTok, cross-sectional analysis of the top 100 videos is one of her work. And she's also an active member of ISAT. So we are very excited to hear from you, Dana, your deeper insights also into TikTok, a topic from ISA where we are very interested also from ISA. Thank you for contributing.
So again, I'm Dr. Saad. I'm a clinical dermatologist at the American University of Beirut Medical Center. And in this presentation, I will try to investigate the topical steroid withdrawal syndrome as an entity as described in the videos published on TikTok. I have no conflict of interest to declare. So we know social media is increasingly integrated into our healthcare delivery. It does help in awareness, but also contribute to the spread of misinformation. And one of the most popular social media application is TikTok. So it's the fastest growing platform with over 1 billion monthly active users. The nice feature about TikTok is the For You page, whereby you get curated content based on your personal interest. The creators can reach more viewers. The users can find the relevant videos to their topic of interest. So it has been noted that healthcare related content on TikTok has a very vast reach and very high engagement. Now, what about topical steroids in dermatology? Just briefly, we know it is commonly used as a first-line treatment for conditions like atopic dermatitis, localized eczema, and psoriasis. And misuse does occur despite the established protocol and proper indication of usage. Studies have shown that only 5.5% of patients know the specific medication they're using and the potential side effect of this medication, and only 1/3 understand the proper indication. So improper use, abrupt discontinuation can lead to adverse effect, rarely topical steroid withdrawal. Now, what is topical steroid withdrawal syndrome? It is not widely recognized as its own entity and does not have clear diagnostic criteria or defined pathology. We know there is an overwhelming consensus that says there's a history of long-term regular topical steroid use. What we see is itching, burning of the skin, and erythema. And these symptoms are often worse than the pre-treatment condition. They appear days and sometimes weeks after discontinuing the steroid, and the symptoms extend beyond the treated area that was treated initially with the topical steroids. Now, when we want to say that it's a topical steroid withdrawal syndrome, we need to know the specific topical steroid use, the extent of the body surface area affected, and the time of use before we define it. Because as we know, underlying condition, not just topical steroid use, can cause new atopic issues. Now, patients on social media refer to it as topical steroid withdrawal syndrome, red skin syndrome, which, as mentioned before, it's also a definition for atopic dermatitis, and topical steroid addiction. Now, why do I say patient refer to it? Because it is mostly a condition described by patients. So these patients on social media share their experiences, and we have more than 622 million views on TikTok about this topic, though it is not formally defined as a separate condition. So it is extremely common on social media, but rare in a doctor's office. So this is what prompted us to do the study, to investigate topical steroid withdrawal videos on TikTok and to analyze the top 100 videos. So given that it has a wide reach on TikTok, we wanted to see the credibility, the accuracy of such videos, and we wanted to get recurrent themes or definitions of this condition from these videos and study the quality of these videos. So again, what we did is we looked at the hashtag topical steroid withdrawal. We studied the top 100 videos. Two reviewers, my research assistant that are excellent, Dr. William Abu Shahla and Dr. Firas Haddad, looked at these videos and we extracted data. And the data that was extracted was not based on visual signs or other videos posted. We only looked at this video and what was being said in the videos and not on assumptions. So we took the demographics, the content, and the quality. The quality of the videos was assessed with 3 scoring scales: the Discern, the JAMA, and the Global Quality Scale. All of these scales look at the information that's shared to patients to see if it's valid information, if it's credible, the credentials, the flow, if it's useful for the patients, and these have a score from 1 to 5. So as for the result, again, we looked at the 100 top videos, only 10 gave a clear definition of what topical steroid withdrawal is. 4 of them said it's an addiction to topical steroid and the loss of skin tolerance to it, which lead to the development of the condition. So again, 19% of the videos mentioned topical steroid withdrawal in the videos. The hashtag was present, but they don't mention it in the videos. 10% say what it is. 7% identified the steroid that was used, and some even used oral steroid. The duration of use was only mentioned in 14 videos. Some say they used the steroid for months, others for years, and we know years of use can lead to abuse and this condition. The discontinuation method was mentioned in 5 of the videos, and it was an abrupt discontinuation, no tapering. The onset of the symptoms ranged from directly after stopping the steroid to months after. And sometimes the videos, the withdrawal syndrome lasts up to 3 years. Now, why did they discontinue? 90% don't mention. For the 10% that do say why they discontinued, it's because of various reasons, some of them being steroid phobia, other because of a personal decision or advice by a friend. The symptoms are typical. We see them, whether it's with the withdrawal syndrome or the aggravation of their initial atopic dermatitis. So itchiness, peeling, dryness, even mention of elephant skin, which is the wrinkling on the extensor surfaces and the knees. And these symptoms lead to mental stress, which is the inability to go to work, and mental health issues. Now, in addition to attempting to define topical steroid withdrawal from the videos, we looked at the scale, so at the quality, and the quality was poor. None of these scales reach even the grade of 5. It's all below 2. But despite this low number of the quality, the video had a very high reach, a high number of views, high number of comments, and high number of shares. So what were our principal findings? We have a lack of key information, so they omit the crucial details. What was their initial condition, which steroid they used, how much time did they use it, and how did they discontinue? So we know we have an improper use and improper discontinuation issue. So again, long-term use, it raises the concern of misuse, and the abrupt discontinuation also is wrong. The definition was lacking. So only 10% provided a vague definition that we're not able to differentiate it from their actual atopy. The onset of the symptoms varied. So are these symptoms that reflect topical steroid withdrawal or a flare-up? We don't know. Red skin syndrome is frequently cited. The mental health disturbances also were mentioned, but also we do not know if it's necessarily due to the withdrawal. The management was very inconsistent on the videos, and they really recommended low evidence treatment such as no moisture regimen, which contradicts our guidelines of proper skin hydration and dermatology supervision. Again, the quality was low, but despite this low quality, the video, the daily use, the views were very positive. But to note that 100% of these videos were done by personal accounts. No professional or verified medical professional was talking in these videos. So we have a very high reach, but a very high potential for misinformation. So the healthcare professional needs to be more engaged on TikTok to provide evidence-based advice. We need to have a definition and clearer guideline to say that this is TSW to really send a proper message. We have a very high reach, but poor quality and poor content. And this will propagate or exacerbate the misuse, the phobia that patients talk about, and the mismanagement. So we need to be present to improve a patient outcome. So again, what are the criteria to distinguish atopy from TSW clinically? If we have a very severe initial condition of atopy, for example, does this associate with an increased risk of developing withdrawal syndrome? We need to address the issue of the reluctance to visit healthcare professionals. Most of these patients say that doctors don't know of this condition or they won't diagnose it, and this is why they don't even visit doctors after they stop their steroid. So we need to increase our visibility and combat this misinformation and ultimately help our patients. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donna. That was a really deep dive into TikTok. So it's very frightening what goes on there. There's very little correct information, but a
Exactly.
huge outreach, almost no professional expertise.
Exactly.
In brief, could you give us an advice how to change this?
I'm sorry, what's the question? How to?
How to change this? Should we
Yes,
do some own TikTok or what?
Exactly, we were discussing and with Marine as well, with the presence of the Atopic Foundation on TikTok, we want to try to reply at least to these very high reach videos, these top videos, to try to reply and give proper advice and try to reach the same people that look at this hashtag in order to combat misinformation. But it's really hard. And as Marine said, being present requires a lot of time, a lot of effort.
Thank you. I think we are very thankful for you, young people, being familiar with that. And together, you know how to deal with the media. Maybe we have the expertise.
Yes.
Then we can work together on changing that.
Exactly.
I would also encourage everyone to, if they have questions or comments in the chat, to put it in.
Just a question to Dana. It is about, I think the good thing in your concluding slide is you mentioned there is a correlation between good quality content and number of views or duration on the website. So there is some positive things. There are some positive things in your.
Actually, it's the other way around. It's bad quality, it's reaching very high. When it's good quality, they're not really watching the video or sharing it. This is the big problem. So it's poor quality, high reach.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's even more frightening.
Yes, exactly.
So I propose now to move to the second TSW talk, and we will finish by Dr. Mota, which is more, I think, a more complete view on the problem of misinformation. And so I'm very happy to introduce Mikael Österholm from Sweden. Mikael has presented his work at the last meeting in Doha, Qatar, and this is also on this issue of TSW, but based on the survey made on a Facebook group of persons who said they had atopic dermatitis. So it's really the heart of our issue today when facing one question like TSW and atopic dermatitis. And very happy to introduce Mikael. Please, Mikael.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where from you are joining us today. My coworkers and I, we are grateful for the opportunity to present some of our recently published research data on topical steroid withdrawal today. So these are my disclosures of interest, and I will be speaking on the under the title of Deciphering Topical Steroid Withdrawal as Studied on a Facebook Group. So as Dana just explained to us, TSW is usually described as an adverse reaction to the withdrawal of topical steroids, manifesting as erythema and burning or painful sensation from the skin. And there are also some reports of symptoms during topical steroid use. Healthcare practitioners have been cautious in recognizing TSW as a distinct reaction due to lack of evidence for the proposed mechanism of addiction followed by withdrawal symptoms, and there are currently no diagnostic criteria. And there could also be other possible explanations for the symptoms attributed to TSW, explanations that are perhaps more in line with available scientific evidence, and also the vast experience that dermatologists, general practitioners have of prescribing topical steroids. And this was also covered that we have a great concern regarding topical steroid safety among patients, which is usually not shared by healthcare providers. And in recent years, the TSW discussion has been widespread online and on social media with little or no engagement from healthcare providers. There is still a lack of research data on TSW, and the TSW information sources online and on social media are often based on personal accounts from individuals who identify with TSW. So this asymmetry can cause alienation between patients and healthcare providers, which is of course not beneficial, and it can also promote the spread of misinformation about topical steroids. So with the lack of a definition and no acknowledged diagnostic criteria, we decided to characterize TSW from the patient's point of view. So we asked them about their own characterization of this condition and their experience of the manifestations. And we chose to do so on social media. So we constructed a detailed digital questionnaire, which was posted in a TSW-themed Swedish Facebook group in the spring of 2023. And it was aimed at adults with atopic dermatitis and symptoms which they attributed to TSW. Participation was anonymous, and we also encouraged the participants to share the link to the questionnaire with others when appropriate, so that we could gather as many relevant experiences as possible. 82 participants submitted completed questionnaires, and most of them were female and in the age group of 18 to 39 years. And most of them also had ongoing symptoms attributed to both atopic dermatitis and TSW when they filled out the questionnaire, and 84% reported that they were self-diagnosed with TSW. The most frequently reported skin signs were erythema, peeling skin, dryness, and oozing. And the head and neck, the chest, and the arms, including the hands, were the most frequently involved skin areas, but all skin areas were reported as being affected. And the symptoms coupled to this were itching, sleep disturbance, and various unpleasant sensations from the skin. Most of the participants identified topical steroids as the main trigger factor for their symptoms, but about 30% also mentioned oral steroids, and a minor fraction mentioned other drugs not containing steroids at all. And we noted that 21% of the participants were actually using topical steroids at the time of replying to the questionnaire. 60% reported recurring TSW episodes, and episodes were defined by us as an episode was terminated if you had an interval of 2 months without any symptoms. We asked the participants to give a free text answer to the question, how would you define the term TSW? And a majority answered that they viewed TSW as a dependency on corticosteroids, on steroids. It was also defined by skin symptoms, but interestingly also to the actual reactions during cortisone treatment, and not only the withdrawal symptoms. And we presented the participants with various statements about how TSW could potentially cause life impact. And we asked them to grade this from 0, meaning doesn't affect my life at all, to 10, affects my life maximally. And we could see that across the board, they were giving us high numbers, specifically for social contacts, sleep disturbance, but also anxiety and feelings of depression. As with all studies, there are limitations to ours. All the response rate cannot be calculated with this study design, and all the data is self-reported, so we cannot really verify it. And as mentioned previously here today, there are some potential selection biases linked to the usage of social media. There could be age and sex differentiation, for instance. So in conclusion, our study presented a detailed account of self-reported skin signs and symptoms attributed to TSW as they are characterized, experienced, and understood by patients with AD self-diagnosed with TSW. And the participants defined TSW as dependency on steroids, as well as adverse reactions to their use. Self-reported manifestations of TSW are similar to those of atopic dermatitis, but appeared to be distinguishable for the participants. There are some new aspects in our data: the recurring symptoms, the continued use of steroids despite symptoms, and how do patients actually distinguish flaring atopic dermatitis from TSW, and this requires further investigation. But we believe that the characterization of symptoms attributed to TSW is needed for healthcare provider engagement and for future research, and that awareness of the symptoms attributed to TSW can help healthcare providers to improve the management of concerns regarding topical steroid use in general. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Mikael. So just maybe a small question to you. You have read, like me, the recent JAD paper describing some biological features which may characterize TSW versus atopic dermatitis. But based on your experience on this study with the Facebook group, do you think you can yourself select a group of patients with TSW?
I think maybe it's a small step when we try to, as observers, characterize something. I think there needs to be more research. I think you have to investigate more carefully the distinctions that patients make. Why is this erythema, this burning, painful or itching sensation, why is this TSW to me, and why is it not, for instance, flaring atopic dermatitis? So I think we have a way to go there still.
Peter, another burning question, or anybody around?
Not a question. It just shows me that we have to take very serious. Many patients complain they don't like steroids because often if they stop it flares up. It also goes into TSW. So if I see what is happening on Facebook, social media, I think there's really something we have to address, maybe also in that way.
And now we move. We have the next presentation comes from India, Dr. Alpana Mohta. She's both a dermatologist and an allergist and clinical immunologist. She's very active academically because she's also editorial board member of the International Journal of Dermatology, with interests especially in several diseases, including chronic inflammatory diseases. And I think the main feature in Dr. Mota's CV is she's very active on social media. She's really practicing. She's publishing videos to educate the community, not only in India, but worldwide. So we are very pleased to have Alpana online today. To finish this presentation, we have the experience of a true worker on social media, a dermatologist and allergologist, Dr. Mota from India. Please, Alpana.
Thank you for your kind words. So as I was discussing, misinformation on social media, especially in dermatology, is a big issue and not just confined to atopic dermatitis or other forms of eczema. Like I was discussing this case of a patient who self-injected himself with some herbal natural remedies just because a YouTube video told him to do so. We reported this case 2 years ago. And since then, social media has become even scarier. Now, if we aren't treating our patients, who are? Where are they getting their information from? And why are they even following it? Let's discuss. So social media basically has become a new waiting room right now. There are people who, due to any reason, be it due to financial issues, be it due to insurance issues, can't get easy access to a specialist or even a doctor for that matter. And that's why they turn to social media. It is estimated that up to 70% of the adults end up searching their health symptoms online. They call them the peer-to-peer healthcare communities where they will share their health experiences just because they think the information is more accessible, explained to them in simpler terms, validated by other patients and their peers, and convenient. But that doesn't mean the information is correct. Now, let me give you an example of this one study that was done on the motivators for which atopic dermatitis patients seek their skincare information on social media. They said they seek information just because they can find niche products which they might not be able to find offline or maybe through a dermatologist. And just because there are people saying online that these are natural products or they have good reviews, sometimes people would just end up buying it. And a lot of patients also are fearful of steroids or have corticophobia, and that's why they fall into this cesspool of misinformation. So when we look at some of the most popular social media platforms, despite having a diverse demographic and a high volume of health-related information, the fact-checking and regulation policies honestly do not really live up to the standards to which it should be. Some of the most common platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and even X, formerly known as Twitter, have recently removed the third-party fact-checking process, and currently they would just let the users decide what's true based on a common consensus. The problem is this concept relies on an average user's judgment over an expert's evidence. Now, for political information and to avoid the risk of polarization for opinionated content, this might be good. But when it comes to medical information, this becomes an issue. Even for platforms like YouTube and TikTok, which do have some amount of third-party fact-checking and regulation policies, the amount of content that is posted every day, they are not able to live up with that. The virality of the content makes it impossible for them to verify every information that is posted. There have been a lot of studies, a lot of news online talking about the kind of misinformation available on these platforms for the last few years, and still not a lot of action has been taken against these videos and these kind of contents. Now, social media misinformation was always a problem, honestly, but COVID-19 turned out to be a tipping point. During the pandemic, there were a lot of anxiety, urgency, and politicization of the information, and honestly, nobody knew what was going on. And during this time, content related to misleading preventions, treatment, and vaccination became the quickest way to go viral online. And currently, although the pandemic seems to have come to an end or dampened at least, misinformation tends to affect 10 to 30% of all healthcare information available online. Dermatology being a visual branch and something patients can see, they feel emotional about it, is especially vulnerable to it. As you can see on your screens right now, some of the hashtags related to skincare, skin issues, and even some serious diseases like lupus, TSW, and skin cancer have a really high search volume on these platforms. Now, who is spreading this misinformation? When we look at the misinformation being spread online, not all of it comes from just influencers. A huge proportion of misinformation is definitely from influencers, user-generated contents, patients, and other non-professionals. But then wellness experts, alternative medicine practitioners, and even non-dermatologists who are specialists in other fields tend to end up spreading some amount of misinformation due to one or the other reason. They will sensationalize the information, they will incentivize it just by that shock and awe value and try to create a sense of urgency. While dermatologists and other subject matter experts, on the other hand, tend to have more reliable and evidence-based accurate information. As far as eczema misinformation is concerned, as rightfully discussed by Dr. O'Connor, eczema diet is one of the most common circulating information we have online. Apart from exclusion diet, inclusion diet, some people also talk about buzzwords like low histamine diet. They talk about histamine intolerance, detergent intolerance, having estrogen dominance, and other things like that. And then there are people also asking to use antiseptic solutions like chlorhexidine to improve their eczema. While, I'll give you an example of this one related to Dettol. When one of the users said, my dermatologist actually advised me not to use Dettol, the creator ended up saying, well, all I can tell you is that this helped my son tremendously and better than anything else that was prescribed to them by the dermatologist. So you see the amount of confidence, but the extent of misinformation these people are spreading is rampant, to say the least. Now, why does this lie even tend to win? Why are users or patients not able to figure out what's right and what's wrong? Just because simplicity would always trump complexity. If you explain something to people in simpler terms, it will be easier for them to understand. Let's look at this by means of two examples related to acne. The first one is cure acne overnight. When I went on TikTok and looked at some of the top videos related to this content, as you can see, just one of these videos was created by a dermatologist. The most viral video with over 2.6 million likes actually talked about a hack to fix acne overnight by using honey and Band-Aid. Then there is another one that is more approachable, giving you DIY treatments to get rid of acne overnight. And some would just try to click that emotional chord in your patients by giving them quote unquote no chemical solutions for their acne. When we compare this to a more complex keyword like evidence-based treatment for acne, it still has a good search volume, but as you can see, the number of likes, the number of views are lesser. Still, almost all of the videos that I could find were from dermatologists or other doctors, and the credibility of these videos and the accuracy of information was also a lot. But still, the search is much lesser. Now, let's understand this topic better with a case study on psoriasis on TikTok. The study analyzed the top 200 videos with the hashtag psoriasis under it, and they found that all the reliable videos available on TikTok on psoriasis were created by dermatologists. All unreliable videos were either created by wellness experts or patients. As far as patient-centric misinformation was concerned, the most viral misinformation was related to plaque removal, with some of these videos having over 5 million likes. As you can see at the bottom of your screen, here the influencer is essentially just explaining how you can remove your psoriasis plaque by using a fine-tooth comb, but in the process, she is just eliciting an auspit sign and making the inflammation worse. But these kind of ASMR videos tend to do really well with the audience. Another very highly misleading video that the study found was related to a false causal association between psoriasis and yeast, with over 400,000 likes. There were also some misleading videos from health and wellness gurus who actually recommend using a dietary modification and skipping treatments altogether to treat psoriasis. Now, here I will give you an example of a TikTok influencer. She says that she cured her psoriasis by using this combination of Manuka cream and some brightening soap. Users are curious. The viewers are asking how much time would it take to see results. Some are saying that their skin condition actually got worse by using this combination, but they are just steroid phobic and would try anything but medication. And then there are some that are just warning that this combination has made their skin worse. One user just went ahead one step further and said, in order to make the results even better, you can use a facial scrub. It's crazy the amount of misinformation that we have, and there is honestly no regulation right now. These videos are from some time ago, and still they are doing well, and nobody has flagged them. Now, what happens if an influencer makes a drug claim like this lady just did? Because she said that this combination cured her psoriasis. As long as you say something like this thing is supporting your skin health, it's just a structural or a functional claim. But if you say that the particular medication or anything is curing the disease, that becomes a drug claim. When you make a drug claim, the product becomes an unapproved drug. In countries like US, FTC can take legal action against such influencers, and they can be even personally sued. Another misinformation very rampant is related to diet. A few studies have found that up to 99% of the information related to diet on inflammatory diseases on Instagram is of poor quality. There are inclusion diets, there are exclusion diets, there are anti-inflammatory diets. They would ask you to remove nightshades from your diet or just do some autoimmune protocols. Another example that I have here is from quote unquote nutritionist, because I could not find any credible credentials for her, but she says that this patient came to her with psoriasis, chronic constipation, leaky gut, whatever it is, and fungal overgrowth. And just with some simple dietary modifications, she was able to bring this disease under control. She says the patient is not taking any other treatment right now. She claims that anti-inflammatory diet can help in addressing leaky gut, which she says is the root cause for psoriasis and eczema. When one of the viewers asks, can this also be responsible for vitiligo? The influencer just very confidently says yes. Now, these are just some high burden skin diseases. They are chronic diseases, and in most cases, they might not be life-threatening. But what happens when this misinformation also percolates into skin cancers and other high-stake diseases where they can be life-threatening? To this, I would like to call on this one really interesting series that I just came across on Netflix called Apple Cider Vinegar. If you are curious and want to understand what is the psyche of the influencers, what drives them, and how do they try to persuade their audience to either buy something or convince them to try herbal remedies, you should really check out this series. So in this series, they discuss something called black salve for cancers. The propagators of black salve say that it can find cancer cells, pull it out, and it does not react with healthy cells. They say it's an alternative to surgery, chemotherapy, and even radiotherapy. And on your left, you can see this one influencer. According to her, she has had multiple squamous cell carcinoma over the course of last few years, and black salve has worked for all of them. Some of the red flag languages that you as an expert or even as a user should look out for when you're trying to understand what kind of information on social media can be misleading or misinforming. It can either have terms like what a dermatologist doesn't want you to know, or some 100% natural or 100% safe remedies. "100% natural" or 100% safe remedies. Everything starts in the gut, detox your liver, and other buzz terms like that. Now, what are the solutions? So, in absence of proper fact checking, social media has become a self-cleansing and self-regulating platform on its own. If we have people spreading misinformation, we also have people trying to curb this misinformation. One really prevalent and popular phenomenon right now is called stitch videos, where experts like dermatologists would take part in somebody else's video and add their own clip to it just to curb the misinformation, fact check that video, and just educate their audience in this process. So in this, usually the bottom of the pyramid with highest burden of misinformation, like user-generated content, wellness experts, and alternative medicine practitioners would be stitched by experts who are either non-derms, non-specialists, or dermatologists. But what happens when dermatologists also start spreading misinformation? This is something that has been brought to light by other cosmetic experts like chemists. They say that the experts sometimes end up cherry picking the evidence, and they sometimes do not disclose their ads or paid promotions. And that has also become a problem right now. And then we have the most looming threat that is related to artificial intelligence. AI is something that can pose as either a doctor, influencer, patients. They can pose as anybody. Recently, this one account on TikTok became really popular. They have these AI doctors who pose to be dermatologists, plastic surgeons, and gynecologists. When this account was removed, they came up with another account. And right now, they have a Korean plastic surgeon who claims to have over 13 years of experience and says that herbal tea can help in curing atopic dermatitis and makes other really controversial claims. Now, while some users are able to understand that this is wrong, something wrong is going on, these videos are so realistic and look so human-like then that a lot of time, even people like us might not be able to understand if this is real or just AI. And that's the problem. So all I can see in the end of this presentation is social media isn't the enemy. Silence is. If we don't get in the field, if we don't try to educate our patients, misinformation is going to stay. No amount of reporting or flagging the video is going to be enough. We have to meet our patients where they are listening. WHO has come up with a really good initiative called Stop the Spread, and where they're trying to combat online health lies. They also have a platform called FIDAS, where they verify the healthcare professionals online who are trying to curb misinformation, and they try to make sure that only reliable content stays online. So that's it from my side. I hope you found this presentation interesting. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Alpana. It was very informative to put this in a more general context and to already discuss some solutions, if any. I'm not sure we are going to find the real solution, but now we are going to move to the general discussion, to ask Jean-François Stalder and Dr. Anof Ahmed to join us to lead the discussion. So Jean-François is one of the leading specialists in the field of topical steroid phobia, because with his group, especially which is now the task force affiliated to our society, IZAD, connected to therapeutic education. He has created Topicop, which is quite a widely used tool now, not only for atopic dermatitis and eczema, but all users of topical steroids, just to measure this impact on patient behavior. So phobia, cold phobia, maybe it's not exactly the real term, but it's already something which exists. And Dr. Anof Ahmed, yes, she's a young dermatologist with also interest in public health from Qatar, and also a lot of experience of social media. Please join us for this discussion. And maybe Peter is already starting with maybe some questions from the chat.
Yeah, in the chat, actually, it's more comments. For example, from Fanny, it's that a lot of patients saying that experience topical steroid withdrawal say that when they reach out to the GP or dermatologist for help, they are just not believed or listened to. They feel like the scientific community is not acknowledging the issue. And as Michael was showing in his presentation, it's a huge concern for many patients. I think that's something what I also realized. Maybe we from the scientific community don't take serious enough the concerns of our, let's say, patients in this regard. Yeah.
Yes, just from a public health perspective, I think what we're doing today just having the active discussion, presenting all of the available research, our findings, and coming together as a community with scientific data and ways to tackle misinformation, in social media is really great. I think a lot of comments have also proposed a lot of collaboration, which is really amazing. So we have an Australian group as well. We have further talks in the next coming weeks as well, talking about the same issue.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's a link, for example, our blog on eczema myths, which is given from Melanie Funk to all. I haven't had the chance to look at it, but that's very short, worthwhile look. And then in France, there is an Instagram account which is very concerning. It's called @StopCortisone, encouraging patients, especially parents of young baby patients, to stop treatments, comparing openly cortisone to cocaine, conspiracy therapy as its most open your eyes. So this is really something which is, frightening and something. Following what I've heard, if we should do a TikTok or something, maybe we should start it like how you can cure in 2 days, instead of saying, don't be afraid of steroids, because then no one will read it. And from that lead to serious information. I don't know what you mean about that, Dana or Alpana or something like that, with a really sensational title.
So I do.
There is another question, maybe to Dana from Gail Todd, I see, concerning the poor quality. Why should poor quality get better audience? Is it related to the person, influencer, culture, how they relate to audience? Have you analyzed this? So if Dana, you can also follow up on this question.
Yes, I responded. Patients, they want to hear what they want to hear. The information they have, even if it's wrong, they want, and they follow their beliefs. So if an influencer they identify with tells them what they want to hear, and also like Alpana mentioned, they use the buzzwords, what your dermatologist won't tell you, the cure, the catching phrases, the everything that's sensational. And this is why the high reach for such poor quality videos, because they use words and information that only patients want to hear, even if it's not right.
So you think the slide that Alpana showed on the wording,
Yes,
it is really a red flag by itself. I think it's very important. I liked very much this slide, Alpana. Can you comment on it?
Yeah, so these are actually, like Dr. Dana was saying, they are buzzwords. What your dermatologist doesn't want you to know. Big Pharma doesn't want you to know that. This is 100% natural. This was used by ancient people. So things like that, they resonate with the audience. Plus, these influencers have been here for a long amount of time. Experts have just started coming on the platform, primarily because they are trying to curb this misinformation and inform their patients. Doctors and experts were not actors from the beginning. We had to come on screen because we had to educate the patients. So, but influencers have been here for long, and they have a huge community. They have a huge following. And sometimes it's difficult to even get these videos down. Like I was just telling you about this these fake AI doctors we have. This account is active as of now. Although another account was taken down, they made new one. So it's difficult. It's really difficult unless the platforms themselves start regulating the videos again, have more staff to do fact checking. It will be really difficult.
Okay, thank you, Alpana. I think one of the crucial aspects which comes from this the presentation is the link between corticosteroid phobia, because it is the official term, which is the official term in the literature, and some hashtags like TSW. And I would like to ask Jean-François to show a few slides which discuss this problem.
So are we all corticophobic? 20 years ago, in a survey with 4,000 mothers by the French Mothers Institute, showed that an impressive 95% of mothers with children suffering from atopic dermatitis expressed satisfaction with the effectiveness of topical corticosteroid treatment. It was 20 years ago, before the social media, probably. However, we also discovered that 55% of these mothers are actively trying to limit the number of treatment, whether it's reducing their duration, the amount used, or only using them when absolutely necessary. This reveals some significant knowledge gaps concerning the use of and the safety of topical corticosteroid in pediatric population. And according to Australian pharmacists, such gap might lead to poor treatment concordance affecting the care children receive. In fact, topical corticosteroids is the mainstay of treatment for atopic dermatitis, especially mild form and moderate forms. When used correctly, TCS are both safe and effective. However, many patients harbor a fear of using TCS, often referred to as corticosteroid phobia. 70% of patients express fears about TCS. It's the publication 25 years ago from German. And a non-compliance because of fears is cited by 24% of patients. So these fears can significantly impact treatment adherence, leading to less effective management of this condition. So why does this fear exist? The origin of corticosteroid phobia are varied, often stemming from the conflicting information patients receive from caregivers, from doctors, from pharmacists, from also social media now. In a recent paper, pharmacists from 8 countries answered an online survey about their knowledge of atopic dermatitis and the advice for patients about AD care. Finally, concerning treatment, the most frequent questions to the pharmacist were related to TCS application, around 60%. But 40% of the pharmacists admitted to give information that contradict current medical recommendation. To assess the origin and the frequency of fear regarding TCS, we conducted a qualitative study using focus group methodology as part of a multi-center survey in France. So TCS phobia is a complex phenomenon. Yes or no response are too simplistic and cannot detect different types of fears or their intensity. And at the end, we developed a score validated through structured equation modeling, creating the first scale aimed at assessing TCS with good psychometric properties. So here is a topical corticophobia score with 12 questions exploring three different dimensions: knowledge and beliefs, fears, and behavior. And to validate the use of this score outside of France, with the collaboration of the Open Network, we assess the score at the large international level. The primary endpoint was to validate the feasibility, the acceptability, and also the comprehensibility of TOPICOP using a large panel into 13 languages. We published a questionnaire translated in different languages, and from September 2014 to May 2015, the questionnaire was converted into a quantitative score by assigning numerical values ranging from 0 to 3 to each answer and transforming the score into a percentage based on beliefs, fears, and behaviors. So at the end, two conclusions. First one is the international survey demonstrated that the 12 items questionnaire shows good comprehensibility and feasibility for 80% of respondents, despite linguistic and cultural difference. And for the first time, we can confirm this worldwide phenomenon. And this qualitative score allows the caregiver to easily identify the factors behind a corticophobic patient. Like the message is simple. So, but I think the corticophobia is difficult to ask patients about corticophobia because it's not a yes and no responses. We have to explore different dimensions. And I think with this 4-dimension exploration, it is possible to better convince the patient, to better understand the reason why the patient is corticophobic, and finally to convince him or her with a personalized argument.
And maybe Jean-François and the rest of the panel, we can try to see if among the users of social media, especially the forum
Yes.
with hashtag TSW, is there any expertise on exploring the domains of Topicop in
No.
this group of patients
No,
to
but
know
I think
if they are on the extreme of the Topicop scale in terms of possible phobia and which domain it is?
Sure. I think it's an idea because when we launched the Topicop score, it was before the network, social networks, and today it's possibly it's possible to do that and to ask not only patients, not only doctors and pharmacists and healthcare provider, but also patients to respond to the questions, to explore this with this 12 questionnaire, 12 questions, and to obtain finally a better dimension, to better understand the dimension of corticophobia. And I don't know, maybe, but we did that with, for example, allergologists, dermatologists, students, and I remember we obtained sometimes a level of corticophobia which was important. And the people explained that finally they are anxious to use and sometimes to prescribe corticosteroid.
Maybe other members of the panel, maybe Dana and Michael, can also have their opinion about
Yes.
the amount of corticophobia, inherent intrinsic corticophobia in patients with TSW.
No, definitely they are steroid phobic. It's one of the also hashtag TSW and steroid phobia, and it's one of them. And I'm pretty sure if they do the Topicop questionnaire, they will be on the spectrum of steroid phobia. It's one of the drives as to why they want to stop and go through the process of withdrawal or flare just because they don't want to start steroid again. I'm pretty sure if we do it, they'll be on the extreme.
Okay.
It would be nice.
Sorry. Yeah.
Maybe yes, with Michael, if he had a few questions that included this, no?
Yeah. we looked at this interesting scale, of course, but when you do a detailed questionnaire, you have to edit it harshly in order
Yes.
for it to be manageable. So, but I mean, I think every single item on that scale could have been included in our questionnaire, and I think that would have been even better data. I think that I think it's interesting to reflect on the people who are a little bit hesitant to topical steroids. They've heard something from the pharmacy or from a friend, and they can say things like, well, you know, topical steroids, they're not really good for you, right? And they want a validation of that from their doctor. And I think that people like that who are on the verge of a larger kind of fear of topical steroids, when they encounter all of this social media content, I think that can easily change things for the worse. So I think it's easy to understand that you can be really frightened by the social media accounts that you can encounter just by browsing casually. So I think that what Alpana says, that silence is the worst thing, I totally agree. And I think that we need to have facts when we break the silence. And I think that's what we should try to accumulate by doing studies. That doesn't mean that we confirm unproven hypotheses, but we can investigate the phenomena to understand them better. That's the reasoning in our group, at least.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. So I have a question for David Troya. He's also working with us and helping Jean-François for the opened group. And I remember we raised the question of celebrities as helpers for initiatives controlling bad information in social media. So what is your feeling? Do you think it is good to have possible celebrities on our side or not?
Thank you, Alan, for your question. Well, I think that it's tricky. It may be a good thing, but it may not, because as we saw, and Dr. Mota and Dr. Saad mentioned, one of the things that should be considered is that patients are looking for information that confirms what they already believe. So the risk of using a celebrity would be that patients might think that the financial interests behind the pharmaceutical industry are so powerful that they are willing to finance celebrities to promote a message that these patients consider to be either false or misleading. At the same time, if we manage to find a social media influencer who has credibility, and this person is willing to start a strategy, a communication strategy to disseminate information that has been validated by the scientific community, it could work, but there's a risk.
Okay, Alpana wants to say, I just want to add something. We try to have WHO experts speaking at this roundtable, but nobody made the risk to join us. And because also, Alpana, you mentioned the WHO in your slides, and do you see that they have some results with good influencers? And maybe, of course, you can add on to the comments of David.
Yeah, it definitely tends to have a good influence. Unfortunately, even FIDES right now, their platform on social media, it doesn't really have a lot of followers right now. So like you guys were just talking about, we might need somebody who is influential, and maybe having a celebrity could be in our favor. But honestly, at this point, it's more, from my understanding, it's more like a David versus Goliath situation. We cannot make sure that the misinformation goes away. We cannot make sure that patients will probably follow everything we tell them online. So first step should be to have somebody who is influential on social media and ask the patients to come out of social media and not believe everything they see on social media. That would probably be the best approach. First step, tell a celebrity to ask them not to believe everything on social media, and then pull them out and bring them to a more credible platform. That could be perhaps easier because everybody is an influencer right now and most of them don't have any credentials. So it's not possible to just go on social media and hope that we will be able to get our message across to everyone.
Thank you, Alpana. So I think now we have Dr. Hanoff, and she is going to make a point concerning public health issues related to our topic today. Please, Dr. Hanoff.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the kind introduction. So I just want to thank the organizing committee for allowing us to have these fruitful discussions, and I think my presentation will bring together a lot of elements that we've discussed today, provide some points on how we can combat atopic dermatitis misinformation living in the digital age, and really understanding the patient perspective. So why do patients believe what they believe, and what is our approach as healthcare professionals? So I have no conflicts of interest to disclose. Again, during this presentation, the presentations today, we've discussed, why atopic dermatitis is susceptible to misinformation. This is because it's a common skin disorder. It has a complex and a multifactorial etiology. We understand that topical steroid withdrawal is a rare and a severe side effect or adverse reaction after prolonged use of topical or high-potency steroids, and how social media unfortunately exaggerated these fears and how it led to steroid phobia. So, just understanding topical steroid withdrawal, its emergence. So, the first documentation of topical steroid withdrawal has not been explicitly mentioned in the medical literature. However, as early as 1969, there was a reported adverse reaction of rebound erythema and inflammatory edema after prolonged corticosteroids. So could this have been topical steroid withdrawal as early as 1969? As a community, I think we need to recognize that this is a potential adverse reaction to, believe our patients, validate their concerns, and keep this within our discussions, whether in clinical or non-clinical settings. So we've already spoken, I think Dr. Alpana had provided a great summary on the countless viral posts that spread fear about steroids. And she mentioned really nicely some of the common myths on social media, that all steroids cause withdrawal, it's an addiction, natural remedies may be enough to cure atopic dermatitis, and how sometimes this myth of doctors or dermatologists are hiding the dangers of steroids, which we know is not true. So I provide this example of one patient on TikTok who is talking about, him having topical steroid withdrawal after using Protopic. So we know that Protopic is a non-steroidal, so information is misleading, it's false information. A lot of comments on, oh my God, I used Protopic, or other users suggesting, let's do a 3-week detox. I cured my eczema with just taking juicing. So there's a lot of misleading information, a lot of increased fears on social media. Another creator has posted a PSA, which is or stands for a public service announcement. So he's talking about how he can heal, naturally, and providing a link to another account selling, let's say, natural remedies. So I think one of the ways that we need to tackle this is to educate our patients on recognizing red flags. What is the purpose of this video? Is it educational, or is it, a sales pitch? Let's go to this other account and purchase all these natural remedies. And unfortunately, a lot of topical steroid withdrawal patients are straying away from prescribed medications and choosing to heal topical steroid withdrawal naturally. So what are the consequences? We've spoke about steroid phobia. Patients are stopping treatment too soon. They'll end up with worsening of their atopic dermatitis. It will lead to uncontrolled inflammation and infection, and really increased hospitalization, just putting a stress on our healthcare systems unnecessarily due to the undertreatment of atopic dermatitis. There's more reliance on these unproven and expensive natural remedies, and unfortunately, misinformation will spread faster than corrections made by the medical community. So why is this? Why do patients trust social media over medical experts? What's the behavioral health related psychology? We've spoken a little bit on cognitive biases. So as mentioned, with confirmation bias, is that if a patient has some doubt on using topical steroids and watches a video on how severe topical steroid withdrawal can be, they're more inclined to believe that because this aligns with their existing belief that steroids are bad. There's an availability heuristic. So personal stories on topical steroid withdrawal on social media, they're more memorable. Patients can relate more to personal stories of, let's say, a patient presenting with a generalized skin rash who is having an emotional reaction. It's a mental shortcut. Patients are more likely to remember that video rather than a dermatologist, for example, talking about steroids and the potencies and the ways that we can use it. There's a Dunning-Kruger effect where a patient can watch a very simple video on social media, and then they develop this overconfidence on diagnosing themselves, on treating themselves, and even giving advice to other users on how to treat topical steroid withdrawal. We need to know that there is social factors. There's a certain sense of perceived authority. So users with more followers have this false perception of, more legitimacy, which is not true. Peer influence. So if a patient has a close friend with topical steroid withdrawal, or their favorite social media influencer has spoken about natural remedies, they're more likely to believe them than medical experts. So I think in summary, what we need to understand is that there's a trust in the personal experience. There's an emotional appeal to all of these videos on TikTok or on the Facebook groups or, in other social media platforms. And really personal or people stories are much more appealing. So I want to provide something that I think would be an effective way on delivering education or providing a different perspective on social media. This is one of my patients. I would, post this, I would title it as Healing with Steroids, a one-day success story. And my patient had a severe flare of her atopic dermatitis with an itch score of 10, increased pruritus and edema, and erythema. And only after one day of using a topical corticosteroid, she had almost complete resolution of her symptoms, 0 itch score, no remaining skin lesions. And what we can highlight from this patient experience is the lack of necessity of using steroids for a long period of time to achieve success, and how this patient can continue to heal with non-steroidal agents and skincare and moisturization to maintain her disease control. So collaboration and engagement, we've spoken about this a lot today, and how collaboration is important. And I really love that there's a lot of comments in the chat on potential collaborations. And this is something that we need from a public health perspective. We need more research and more dedication from our societies on understanding the pathophysiology of topical steroid withdrawal, understanding the epidemiology around the world, and creating diagnostic tools. So the TOPICOP score was an excellent scale in understanding topical steroid phobia. More scoring systems can be very helpful to dermatologists in recognizing or even diagnosing topical steroid withdrawal. So these are all positive movements. We need to engage with the online community as hard as it is. Try to be active on social media. Don't let misinformation dominate. Comment on misinformation posts as much as possible. Join these discussions on Facebook groups or Reddit, and develop shareable content as the example I previously provided. And really, we can try to work with policymakers to kind of push for this accountability. I think Dr. Alpana has mentioned, some of the barriers to this, but definitely something worth looking into. So again, there's a lot of information from societies on debunking steroid phobia myths, a lot of dermatologists talking about steroid phobia and how you will be fine. However, as Dr. Dana has nicely highlighted, that the users are dominating on these social media platforms. The quality is very, very low. And really, we have to have this call for dermatologists to really be active on social media. We know that there's an increase on this issue and how we need to kind of try to catch up with this. 2 to 3 fold increase in the number of mentions of topical steroid withdrawal on Instagram, and almost reaching 618,000 mentions alone in 2020. So this is a growing problem. So patients, in summary, we need to understand that patients go to social media now more than ever for medical advice. We as healthcare professionals, we need to adapt to this. Misinformation will thrive in the silence. Let's be the voice. So join the conversation, educate and empower your patients, recognize and understand their symptoms, and really work together with your patients on a personalized, patient-centered treatment plan. So this was my summary for today. Thank you for listening. And I look forward to just having more discussion on the positive direction of addressing misinformation with atopic dermatitis.
Thank you, Dr. Hanoff. You have a question from for Amanda Roberts. Dr. Hanoff, Ahmed, are you promoting the use of TCS for only one day?
Yes, so I think there comes a lot of challenges, with all of these posts. We are in this dilemma of providing some sort of medical advice that patients will respond to, but at the same time, we need to include disclaimers that this is, anecdotal evidence, because this is one patient experience. Every patient will react differently. Not all patients will need 1 day versus, let's say 10 days, and so on. So as long as we're at least providing some sort of information, some sort of experiences from patients that have benefited from topical steroid withdrawal, I think this is all worthwhile.
Thank you. I think the answer is probably not, but this is something which shows that we can maybe get one information which directs attention to something. And it is exactly what is the mechanism you showed on TikTok or Instagram. So something which is attracting the attention and which is not common. And then maybe you can use this information to say, this is not the rule for many patients. You need to treat more chronically to get a result. But if you have some patient, you must, of course, start with one application and see what is the minimal dose you need to use to control the patient. I think this would be a kind of message. But of course, we just get to figure out what are the key message to get this kind of people who are seeking information in social media to get some attention to the problem, which is maybe the difficulty when we have an old professor speaking and who is not getting any attention. So it's a difficult scheme. So thank you also, Dr. Hanoff, for making summary points, I think, to this discussion. I think it was very, very helpful. I think I see quite a long chat, but I don't see so many burning questions. So I just asked the panel before concluding Are there some remarks or some other points you want to mention before we close this symposium? So Michael first.
I just wanted to add that I think that we need to inform healthcare practitioners about steroid phobia, TSW, and the overall discourse on social media, because I think that if you as a patient, you are hesitant and you mention something that you have read or seen online and your doctor responds that, oh no, that's nothing, I've never heard of that, or I'm not aware of the discussion at all, I think that might push you as a patient towards other information sources. So I just think that the awareness in itself might be helpful. And I think it's perhaps a bit more, it's a bit easier to reach health practitioners for us than it is to reach all of the patients that we want to reach. Yeah.
So Marine,
yes, I just had a comment because we've seen, I think, with all the presentation that the scale of the problem is really big. But I just wanted also to mention that I believe that it's important to acknowledge that despite the scale of this phenomenon, it's important to try to start somewhere and implement some actions. And if the action we're implementing at least can avoid some people having risky behaviors based on misinformation, it's a good start and kind of a victory, even if the problem is so big. I think we must start somewhere.
Other reactions? So I see that, and it was really our will, a call to action. I think we should conclude on these aspects. I have the first information is that we asked the participants to send the answers to the questionnaire, which is online, and it is on the first page of the symposium. You have it is quite short to probably just 1 or 2 minutes to fill the questionnaire, and so go to the it is anonymous also, 2 minutes to fill. So if you can go before leaving the symposium, the online spring symposium, go to and fill this questionnaire would be very helpful for us to drive maybe better the action for the next months. And concerning so there is a question concerning a certificate of attendance. Unfortunately, we cannot give certificates of attendance. And just to conclude, I just want to say we have the apologies of Peter Schmidt because he had to board a plane in Zurich, so he is not with us anymore, or maybe he can hear us. I just want to thank very much all our panelists for a very clear presentation. I want to thank also all the participants for the very useful information that we'll probably try to disseminate concerning all the actions which are already mentioned in the chat. And what is our main purpose now, from now to the next big meeting in Melbourne, which is in October, to try to start some action. So what we said previously, within this group of panelists, we need to have first a good debriefing of this meeting. But clearly, I've seen some interesting information concerning actions and experience with action from several participants, and also some red flags, which could be very useful to put as an information. Also, the fact that we need to take it seriously in the dermatology community. So to be also aware of this phenomenon, as it was said, and to be able to discuss some issues with the patients. So the next step will be clearly to have a plan for action in the next few months, and to have maybe some data available at our next meeting, which will be in Melbourne, and especially during the patient-centered care pre-meeting, which is on the first day of the Melbourne meeting. So thank you for attending this spring symposium, and goodbye. Have a nice day or evening or night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. And I think I'm very happy to think about the next meeting.
Good try.
Bonne soirée.
Bonne soirée.